As head teacher of a large first and middle school in Worthing, I have taught in both primary schools and secondary schools, teaching maths from children aged 4 to aged 18. And it becomes increasingly frustrating as children get older if they don't know their table facts, and even if they're having to work out the answers in a long multiplication, for example, using their fingers. So they would be going 6, 12, 18, 24. In the middle of a long calculation, that can be very difficult for a child because they'll forget what they were doing and where they were at. Even more frustrating is if a child has to say 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 6 is 12, 3 times 6, just to be able to know that 9 6s are 54, for example. I was thrilled when Alan approached us as a school and asked whether we could start to introduce the 4-step programme to see the success of it. So we set up a trial with 2 equal ability classes in Year 4, and one group continued the work that they'd been doing on tables, chanting the whole table right the way through. And the other group, Alan came in and worked with the teacher to introduce the 4-step programme. They carried out a test with both groups at the beginning and with both groups at the end. When we did the test at the beginning of the trial, we noticed that given any amount of time, the majority of the children knew their tables. They were having to do lots of working out on their fingers, but they were given as much time as they needed. At the end of the trial, we did another test, very similar, and the children in the class that had not been using the 4-step programme, their results were almost identical to the results at the beginning of the trial. The children who had been using the 4-step programme, their results were significantly different. They still got the majority of them correct, but they were able to answer the questions in about half the time. And that's very significant in my eyes, because it's not only about children knowing how to get the right answer with their tables, but actually it's about them being able to recall the response that we need quickly, so that when they move on to learning long multiplication and algebraic expressions and everything gets more difficult, they're not having to fumble over working out a calculation that they should be able to recall very quickly. At the start of the programme, Alan met with the parents of the class that were going to be following the 4-step programme and explained the process. The parents were thrilled and took their part in that programme and helped with its success. We're delighted with the results. They're just as we would want for our children, and I'm thrilled that Alan has agreed to come in and train all of our staff in the school on the 4-step programme, so that wherever they're teaching they can start implementing that process. It should only take 30 days for the majority of the children, and obviously it needs to be repeated as they go through the school, just to keep those tables brushed up and at their best. So I'm delighted to recommend Alan's programme to you, and we've been thrilled with his work with us.
Before this, I tried this programme, I was really not confident at my times tables. Now I feel really confident. My teachers have also noticed a big difference in my maths, and so have I. This programme's been really fun and enjoyable as well.
6 8s,
48,
4 9s,
36,
5 7s,
35,
9 6s,
54,
8 7s,
56,
7 6s,
42,
9 9s,
81,
9 8s,
72,
9 5s,
45,
6 8s,
48,
4 7s,
28,
6 6s,
36,
7 3s.
21.
It took just 4 weeks each for Megan and Pedram to reach this standard with their times tables, from what I'm sure they would freely admit were shaky beginnings. They and their parents simply followed the 4-step program to tables mastery using the Parents' Handbook and the Student Workbook. If your son or daughter cannot give the answers to these simple multiplication facts in a couple of seconds, what chance do they have with multiplication sums, division sums, fraction work, and a whole host of other topics leading right up to GCSE level at age 16? The Parent Handbook contains full details of the 4-step program. The Student Workbook gives initial assessment sheets, practice table squares, division triangles to practice the tables backwards, as it were, and a multitude of problems relating to tables to hone the newly acquired skills. You can obtain the Parent Handbook and the Student Workbook as immediate downloads right now, completely free of charge. You will also receive a link to a video which shows me working through the 4-step program with another youngster and his family. Simply sign up in the boxes on the right now and you will be sent the links to the 2 downloadable manuals and the demonstration video. So let's find out what Megan's and Pedram's parents think about the 4-step program.
Hi, I've noticed a huge increase in Megan's confidence while she's been learning these times tables. This program's been absolutely fantastic. Her confidence in tables has gone through the roof. I can't recommend the program highly enough.
After visiting Megan's school to find out why the children weren't reciting their times tables how we used to, I now realise that was completely the wrong way, and by following the 4-step program, Megan was able to improve her times tables in a matter of 4 weeks.
I've noticed Pedram's progress has been fantastic. He initially achieved 42% in his maths exam. Having done the 4-step program, he managed 85%, and I was very pleased about that.
The 4-step program may be used at any of 3 different levels according to the current ability of your youngster. If they are having real difficulties, it's generally better to begin at a lower level and make sure that they have really learnt all the number facts at that level before moving on to a higher stage. A good 80% of youngsters do not have a good grasp of times tables right up to GCSE level, and this hinders them in so many ways. Here's your chance to make sure that your son or daughter is in the 20% that do. And there's no singing or chanting of tables, and it's all totally free. So sign up now, and in just a few moments you will have everything you need to solve those tables problems once and for all.